Under the Dome, Season 2, Episode 10, The Fall. This was a great episode, but the first thing I want to talk about is Phil, who is the character that died at the end of this episode. He had a really crappy season this season. Like, I enjoyed his character. I always liked his character. He was, like, the funny character in Season 1, or one of them at least. And in this one, he was a lot more serious. He lost his partner because Big Jim killed her. And that was one of the big storylines I thought that they were going to have, where he would find out what Big Jim really did. But he never did, and that really sucks. I thought he died the first time when he was going up against Barbie and Barbie shot him. I thought he'll never find out the truth about that, and then he came back and he kind of had his redemption moment because he realized Big Jim wasn't the amazing guy he thought he was when he decided to be his deputy or become a sheriff. And he went against Big Jim, which is kind of the smart move in this show. But he gets beat up and he gets in prison, and then in this episode he escapes. I thought he was gonna make it into Zenith. The people who were waiting for the egg, they'd get the egg, and then he'd be the only guy who made it across. And I thought it's gonna be that storyline where some of the episodes, like minor parts at least, would be him on the outside and he'd be the only one out there. But he'd of course be caught and interrogated, like, hey, what's going on? What's this? What's that? What are all these answers we need that you don't really have? But excuse me, he just ends up dying in this episode, and that really sucked. Like, his character just had like a huge downfall, and it kind of sucked for him. And like, I saw that happen, I was like, man, that's just really messed up. His character got just beat up in this season, so it really sucked to see him go that way. I thought, they had the little moments where they showed him. I thought it would lead to something really big for his character. Unfortunately, it was his death. But that was a great ending. It sucked to see his character go, but I did like his character for the time that we had him. And ultimately, I definitely enjoyed this episode. It was a very interesting one. We got a lot of, I guess, a lot of dome activity. We had earthquakes when the egg gets tossed off. Junior's mother was having her visions, which were cut off during the earthquake, so now she doesn't know what's going to happen anymore. Junior was dealing with, I guess, a premonition or sort of a visual of Angie, who was trying to stop him from killing his uncle, and he doesn't. And he finds out that the reason the dome doesn't want him dead is because the dome knew that it was really unlikely that the egg would actually stay safe inside the dome, so it needed someone to keep Melanie alive, because the reason she's so protective of the egg is because something inside the dome is kind of infused in her, and she's connected to that little egg. So if the egg is shattered somehow or destroyed, Melanie will probably cease to exist. And that would really suck for Barbie, who we find out in this episode is actually Melanie's brother. And I thought that was an amazing moment in the episode. I didn't expect that to be the reason she was there. I don't know why. When they actually said it, it seems really logical. I was going like way above and beyond because of what the show really is. I thought maybe she has some crazy connection and it's something she forgot because she died, and it's just one of those memories she kind of lost. But it was a lot simpler. It's that she's the stepsister to Barbie, and that was really interesting to me. So I enjoyed that. It was cool for them to have an interesting connection like that. The new guy, I like him. I thought he was pretty funny in this episode when he was helping out Joe and Nori, and they were both like, him and Joe were kind of nerdy and stuff, and Nori's like, I don't really know what you're talking about right now. I enjoyed their little banter and stuff. That was funny. I don't know if he has some sort of ulterior motives. He said he was gonna go out looking for pictures and stuff. Of course, I feel like he could have just told them, like, well, if I can't go with you guys, which obviously sucked to him, I'm just gonna stay here and work on getting this internet connection. Like, I don't see why he had to hide that that's what he was gonna do, unless he actually has a connection, which it seemed like at first, because he looked like he was going through separate emails, but he was like, where's the connection? He actually said that, so he doesn't have one. Hopefully he'll be able to establish one, and that'll set up something for the rest of the season, which I think we only have about 5 or 6 more episodes left. But this was definitely an interesting moment. It cuts off everyone's way out of the city, which of course they know Big Jim did that. I can't wait to see how that turns everyone on Big Jim. And Big Jim himself in this episode was just a crazy freaking roller coaster. He saw his wife come back, and he instantly did a 180. He was sort of the same guy. He kind of got hit with almost like a spiritual sense because of the dome. So he was a little nicer in certain aspects, but when he saw his wife, it was like he instantly reverted back to everything before the dome, when things were just really good for him and his son, and he loved his wife. and she wasn't having the premonitions and things like that. He had his wife, he had his son, he had his business, and they were all just living it up. They were kind of the famous people in town. Everything was fine, and that's how he was for a big chunk of the episode. And then he just goes straight downhill, and he goes right back. By the end of the episode, he's just back to who he was in season one, where he's willing to kill a kid just so that he can do what he wants, even though he talked to Barbie and Julia, and they have this great plan. Like, hey, you go through, you tell them what's happening, your family stays here. That way, we know you're serious. We know you want to help everybody. Everybody will get out of the town, plain and simple. And he was like, he'd already set up the deal with the army men that he talked to through the dome, and he's like, screw that, I gotta get my family out of here now, because he misinterpreted the vision his wife had. So it was just a crazy thing to see him go from that incredibly loving character, everything just seemed perfect to him, to he just died down. And who knows how that's gonna affect next episode when he actually finds out that his wife doesn't really give a crap about him, because of course she went back only for Junior, really. And I love this scene where she says that, and he says, like, why'd you come back? And she said, well, for Junior. And it was just like, long pause, and for you. And it was like, she put herself right on this hit list without even knowing it, because he's gonna think about that, and she's gonna say something, and he's gonna think about that little pause, and he's gonna have a face we're gonna see, and things are just gonna go downhill from there for her. And they're already pretty downhill. He already locked her up because she was having the visions, and she was trying to stop him from doing whatever he was gonna do. And then he screwed that up, and now she can't see anything. So that's probably gonna lead to her directly telling him, like, I didn't really come here for you. Like, you kind of suck as a husband. We aren't really meant for each other. I'm only here to get my son because that's who matters. And then, like I said, he's just gonna go down even further than he already did in this episode. But I definitely love this one. I'm excited for next week's episode. I mean, like I said, we're getting near the end. I know one of, like, the season finale is called the, I can't remember what it is. It's something related to the dome, like, coming down. So I don't know if it actually will or anything like that. But I'm excited to see how things play out. I think the new guy being in the town is going to be a big part. I feel like he's going to be able to establish a connection, if not with his partner outside of the dome, then someone will actually get in touch with him who, like, might randomly get hired to have taken his place at the company, and then he'll try to work his way through there. And also, we still don't know what happened to Lyle. They just assume maybe he drowned when he came up, maybe he's trapped in between. They don't really know, but Lyle's somewhere out there somewhere. But that's going to be a big story. And I think next episode, I didn't get to see the preview, but I think next episode, or at least an upcoming episode, is actually going to focus on the weather in the dome. They do mention that it's getting colder, it's getting more like autumn, and they don't really touch on that. It wasn't one of the episodes where it's like the atmosphere of the dome is the main story that everyone has to deal with because they need to survive a cataclysmic event. It's just getting much colder, much quicker than it should be at all, because it's supposed to be summer. So I think in some upcoming episodes, possibly even during the season finale, depending on how they do it, and they may have just written it into the show because they were just filming until it ended up happening to snow on set or whatever. So they might have just written that into the show, but we might actually get to see it as sort of a fake winter during the show when it's supposed to be summer outside the dome and stuff like that. So I'm really excited for the rest of the season. Love this episode. Of course, comment below, let me know what you guys thought about it, your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And with Lyle still just being out in the wind somewhere, what do you guys think really happened to him? Do you think he's actually dead? Do you think he might have been sent back to Zenith? Do you think he'll just pop up later? What do you guys think is going to happen to Lyle? Comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.